morning, everyone. There has already been some discussion on AI, but we're very excited about this fireside chat on harnessing the power of AI for education. It is a truly transformative time for the education sector, and AI is poised to rapidly reshape the way we're learning, teaching, innovating, and even working. So, from personalized tutoring systems to AI-driven assessments, the possibilities are really immense, but so are the responsibilities, right? So ensuring meaningful and responsible AI adoption will need building that user awareness at the last mile, scaling AI literacy, as well as building solutions which are relevant for Bharat. To share their insights on these very topical and pertinent and complex issues, we've got two notable EdTech leaders with us, Shubhra from Khan Academy and Bhanu, who's leading AI Samarth at Central Square Foundation as well. So without further ado, let's dive into this chat, and let's also share some of the ground realities behind the hype that is artificial intelligence in education. So, this question is really for both of you. So starting with Shubhra, I want to know, what excites you the most about AI's potential to transform education? And on the flip side, what are some of the things that, we should keep an eye on in terms of challenges and risks?
Great. No, thanks a lot, Noopur. And first, thank you for having me over, and it's a pleasure to be here. What I'd say is that the use of AI in classrooms and in education is just at a very early stage, but just starting to do it. And at least from our experience of rolling out Khanmigo, both globally and in India, it's very exciting to see what the power of AI is and how it can truly transform education, as we've been talking about. So very briefly, if I was to just share, Khanmigo. So Khanmigo is Khan Academy's AI tool, which we developed in partnership with OpenAI and released it in 2023. And what it does is it really acts as a Socratic personal tutor for a student and enables a student and meets the needs of the student. And then it also serves as a personal AI assistant for a teacher and enables a teacher in many ways, and I'll talk more about it as we go. And it's incredible the way teachers and students are embracing AI from the experiences that we have. Everything that we talk about in education, which is personalized learning, making classrooms engaging, interactive, AI is really able to unleash that power in a way that EdTech, did, but it's taken it to a next level. And I'll share a couple of concrete examples from the work that we've done and what we're seeing with Khanmigo, both globally and in India, right? We have students who come and tell us, I'm very hesitant to ask my teacher a question, but I feel very comfortable asking Khanmigo this question. I feel that I can ask and I can get a response. To me, that's so powerful because you want students to be able to do that. We had a student in one of our programs in Odisha, and they were working on, simple interest, compound interest, getting stuck, just basic things that, they weren't able to convert the percentage into a decimal. Here again, the idea is not to give the answer to the student. The idea is to nudge them, guide them, step by step, and that's what AI can do if designed rightly and done well. Tons of examples, again, for teachers and how it's able to unleash, make a lot of their repetitive tasks, take that away, make their classrooms a lot more engaging and meaningful. So yeah, it's very exciting, but I think we're just starting to see that power as we go along.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shubhra. And, before I move to Bhanu, just want to say that, that is an example of a solution which has the key guardrails as well, right, for students to use, and which has been built by technologists as well as inputs from expert educators, right? So just, want to hear from Bhanu, right? I think while building AI Samarth you've shared earlier, building the curriculum for AI literacy as well for Bharat, right? So what excites you about AI in education, as well as, what have you seen in terms of on-ground experiences of other platforms being used, and hence, how do we really promote responsible and meaningful AI adoption in Bharat?
Thanks, Nupur. I think, like Shubhra talked about, AI is presently in its toddler state when it comes to education. So it's trying to walk, it's fumbling. There are 3-4 people trying to instruct it how to walk and manage itself. And it still seems to be not getting it. And this is a journey, evolution, right? But at the same time, there are 3 different things happening at a population scale, right? As we look at our young children, when I say it can go to middle school and above, they are already immersing in digital experiences which are AI infused, right? They are looking at YouTube. They are getting led by the AI algorithms in YouTube as to what is the next video they should watch. Are they aware that they are being taken into a tunnel? Can they have an agency to kind of change the tunnel by deliberately searching for different type of videos to get a right kind of feed coming to them? Going beyond YouTube, we see that whenever you do a Google search now, you actually are front-ended with an AI result of Google search, even before the topical article-related search comes, right? So the way the user experience is designed is that people, as they read, particularly when they do it on the phone, they're actually, by the time they get to the real search results of Google, you're already tired on the mobile phone, so you're just immersing with what the AI part of the search results bring, and they're starting to immerse into such experience. Third, we see as soon as Meta AI integrated into WhatsApp happened, the experiences and the use of how children as young as in grade 5 or even 6, sometimes and even 4, are trying to use those technologies in their own innovative ways, is a mark of how prolific the exposure is, whether it is passive, that they don't know that they're interacting with AI, or in some cases maybe active, right? So the aspect of how prolific it is already, the decision is already on the wall. It is prolific. Now it is incumbent upon us to figure out how to then, move forward in this space, right? When we look at the solutions which are in the market, primarily the AI solutions initially started off as a D2C solutions where the solution is more a hack than anything else, right? Thankfully, we have examples like Kanmigo which are trying to, get more cognitively better and all that stuff from an AI point of view. But it is always the market's design that it will always come as a hack and productivity tool, and then it will evolve into a certain maturity curve later on, right? The essence here is to really figure out if we have to use AI in our teaching learning transactions, are we leading it with our teachers in the picture at the center of it, or are we allowing that to come from external sources and then it penetrates into the classroom where the teacher is sort of no longer in control of what's happening and is kind of caught in the, from the left side, right? So there is a whole need to do 2 different things. One is to fundamentally create new use cases which are specific for learning processes, which are different from what ChatGPT would be, what Meta AI would be and stuff like that, right? And mainstream and give those into the classroom setting or into the teaching learning setting. And some examples like Kanmigo are there. There's an interesting example in Tamil Nadu between IIT Madras and government of Tamil Nadu where they have a tool which focuses on the ability to read Tamil, right, from a printed script, right? And how do you do that at a state level, and how do I give personalized practice for every child in the state as a teacher who is in, dealing with 30 children or 40 children in some classes, and in some rural schools, I'm actually dealing as a teacher with a multi-grade. I have only one physical classroom, 6 grades children are sitting in one classroom, and how do I deal with that, right? So designing tools which are almost sort of surgically designed to achieve learning outcomes is a need. We are seeing early examples of that, but more needs to be done. But before all of that can happen, a parallel thread which needs to also happen is to sensitize our stakeholders and actors in the learning and education space, which is the students, the teachers, and the parents, as to what AI is, how you should look at AI, how you should understand AI, and how do you need to familiarize yourself with the best practices, sort of the do's and don'ts of how you want to do an interaction with AI. So that in a whole sense can be bucketed as something called as AI literacy in the international conversations. We are already seeing a lot of governments really taking big steps in trying to start introducing AI literacy or foundational AI awareness in the middle school and even below at times. And I think as a country, we need to go in that direction as well. Importantly, the three stakeholders, the student, the teacher, and the parent, all need to be covered. Right?
Yeah. No, thanks, Bhanu. I think very pertinent points covered, right, in terms of both AI use cases tailored for Bharat as well as building AI literacy. So, Shubhra, now just delving into, solutions for Bharat, right? So it has been a persisting challenge to build AI-driven solutions for the bottom of the pyramid, be it the lack of data as well as enabling infrastructure, right? So I just sort of want to understand, what efforts can be made, right, by different sort of stakeholders to make such solutions accessible for the underserved communities at scale, as well as, what are almost Khanmigo's plans to scale over the next year or so?
No, Anupur, that's a great question, right? And I think anytime we're talking about technology and now AI, who the user base is and how they're serving for it becomes very important. And just a couple of things that I would say, even when we talk about AI or AI solutions for education, really what would matter, whether it's, particularly for the bottom of the pyramid, is to say, is that solution really grounded in the educational needs, right? And is the pedagogy right? Is it meeting the needs of that particular segment? We're not talking about displacing the teacher, right, in any of these solutions. We're talking about empowering the teacher. And how do you do that? How do you make that happen in the context and the reality that you have, right? And this is where I feel AI can truly be and play that role if done right. And I'm not saying all solutions are at par, exactly what Bhanu was talking about, but the right solution do have the power and potential to do that, right? Now, when we talk about the bottom of the pyramid, and a lot of work that we do at Khan Academy and that I am driving at is working with different state governments, right? And be it with Khanmigo or Khan Academy, all the work that we're doing is with government school students and teachers, and that's sort of the reality that we're working with, the kind of challenges that we see. Something that we know is, Bhanu spoke about it, but we also know that you have situations where students across grades are sitting in a classroom and one teacher is teaching. You also have situations where you have a substitute teacher or a non-subject teacher being given the responsibility. And this happens a lot in middle school and higher grades for subjects like math and science. And it is, and what we're seeing with solutions like Khanmigo is them coming and really enabling teachers even in situations like that. So again, I think it's the thoughtfulness. So here, Khanmigo has a feature and a tool called Refresh My Knowledge. And what we're hearing from the ground in UP, in Odisha, where teachers are using this actively, particularly substitute teachers, non-subject teachers, they use that to really brush up their concepts before they have to go into a classroom and deliver a lesson and teach. They feel far more confident. They feel far more able to do that with this tool and assistance, which was not there for them previously, right? So I think there are, that's one example that comes to my mind over there. Personalization, again, 40 students, multiple learning levels. There's just no way a teacher, be it in an elite private school or in a government school where that challenge is even, far more, being able to do that. Again, using a tool like Khanmigo, where I can group my students, where I can truly give them what they need to study, really can enable a teacher, can make the student, can also help the student because you're meeting the student at the needs that they have. As you do this, the things that even become important, particularly for the bottom of the pyramid, and like Bhanu was talking about, right, AI literacy becomes very important. There are many things that need to be established, but most importantly, what also needs to be established with teachers is this fear that they are not getting displaced.
Yeah.
They are not, they're not being replaced, displaced. It is a tool for them to enable and empower them.
Yeah.
The other is parents, right? Because again, there's a lot of fear among parents, and that's rightly so. You're giving technology, you're giving AI into the hands of teachers and students. And I think the final point I would say, and I'll pause then, is, as part of making those solutions, it's also important to understand the kind of capacity building effort that it would take, right? And with AI, it's not an input-output. It's not like I write something and I get an output, I copy it, and I just take it forward. You have to use your judgment. And if you can make the process of prompt writing simple, remove the cognitive load from a teacher, that would again make it that much more powerful as a tool. Again, Khanmigo does that beautifully with a lot of inbuilt, bubbles, prompts that are there, which take away the decision making, and you don't have to get the prompt perfect and right. And that again is one big challenge we're seeing on the ground.
Oh, amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that, right? And I think bringing us to the very critical point around teacher readiness and system capacity. And as Shubhra mentioned that, there is a lot of cognitive load, and almost there can also be skepticism on part of the teachers or parents while using AI. So Bhanu, I just, want to hear from you, right? Some key strategies which you think can help build that capacity at scale, right? And also drive AI literacy among the audiences before they are, exposed to AI at a very large scale.
I think, in my mind, the push towards AI literacy for the stakeholders and experimentation with early well-designed tools has to go in hand. Because if we just do literacy and the tools, exemplified tools are not there, then there won't be believability, right? So we need to do both in parallel, right? I think one big aspect when it comes to teachers is to kind of start the narrative of, let's go back in the history. I think, at the beginning, we had Jagdish put a beautiful slide which starts at the Gurukul and goes all the way. When the printed textbook come, did all the gurus in all civilizations freak out? I don't know. Did they freak out? I don't know. I don't think they freaked out. They figured out a way to mainstream it, and actually access and equity increased with the technology of a textbook, right? And the teacher actually didn't get replaced, right? But a great teacher always has been delivering results, but with the textbooks and the standardization and the support the textbooks provides, an average teacher was also able to uplift their delivery in terms of learning outcome. I think education solutions in AI will go through that journey, and there is a discovery process, design process which needs to happen. And that is incumbent upon maybe most of us in the room to really pinpoint those use cases and surgically design them, right? So the whole conversation of AI is a partner and my secretary is a conversation which needs to be had with the teachers and the whole educator community, right? The moment we are able to have that flavored conversations, then comes the question of the educators also starting to ask, I want AI to do this. Right now what is happening is they are being thrown AI at them without any agency. And imagine a situation where actually a set of educators in the education board kind of comes, sits down and says, these are the type of education tools, AI tools we want. And then work backwards who in the market can make it, right? And then kind of take literacy along, take solution piloting along with solution designs not coming from the tech side, but actually coming from the education and pedagogy side. On the back of this, what is important is also figuring out the financial constructs of how all of this is going to happen. Ultimately, we don't want AI to be a India 1 or India 2 phenomena. We want AI to actually be an equalizer. And I personally believe that it can actually be a fantastic equalizer if we blend AI use cases and the humble mobile phone, the average mobile phone which has internet can be coupled, then I think it becomes a great equalizer, right? The aspect there is then to figure out how these solution designs, these AI literacy work at state scale, national scale can be funded, right? I'm just taking a use case of an example. If I build a surgically focused spelling dictation AI tool, where as a teacher, I don't need to give the dictation. I say Saturday and Thursday and maybe Tuesday is the dictation day. Go to this app, it will read the words, you write it out and click a picture and put it. As a teacher on Saturday, Sunday evening or Monday morning, I can see last week what happened, I get the data and then I go and look at what words are difficult words and how do I translate. The moment you do this, there are three things happening. One, the practices and behaviors are being set in a particular way, both in the stakeholders and the teachers. Second, the teacher is leveraging the data which is coming out of the AI to make decisions about what kind of spelling dictation teaching effort should I put in this week. And I'm informed by what my children did last week, right? Now this whole transaction, I'm going back to the technology, right? If you throw OpenAI and the cost of subscription of ChatGPT, everybody knows it's not economical to go to the bottom of the pyramid. But if you take this dictation tool and you start thinking about if I apportion, maybe 50 rupees per child per year at a state level, building this tool and providing entire tech infrastructure and not an LLM, but maybe an SLM because it's just a small set of vocabulary, is well within that budget allocation, right? So there are ways to look at it in all three levels: literacy, building use cases, and also figuring out the financial structures which can come around to ensure that these solutions are equitable and accessible at the very last mile.
Yeah, sure.
Add
Go
a
ahead,
couple
Shubhra.
of points, right? Because we're talking about the bottom of pyramid, and in a country like India, something that we do need to understand is the language and the language capability of a lot of these tools, right? At Khan Academy and with Khanmigo, right now our testing and our pilots in India are with English and Hindi. And we're very impressed with what we're seeing in Hindi and teachers using Hindi and the capability of Khanmigo. But for the bottom of the pyramid, you need to make this technology accessible and available in all the vernacular languages. And I think that's where a lot of work does need to happen. And so, I thought I'd point that out. The other thing that I wanted to kind of bring out, because there's a lot of discussion we've had around teachers. But the other stakeholder and the other user will be the student, because when we're talking about personalized learning, when we're talking about what AI can do, the student is really over there. And here again, what we're seeing on the ground and what we're learning, and it's not very surprising, is that the student's incentive is getting the answer. I ask a question to ChatGPT, ChatGPT will give me the answer, and I'm done, because I just need to check that off. Khanmigo is different, because Khanmigo will not tell you the answer, but Khanmigo will guide you to the process, which means that there needs to be change in sort of the incentive structure for a student and what is valued for a student and in terms of learning. The answer versus trying to understand that concept. And right now, getting students, particularly middle schoolers and above, to be aware of what their learning needs are, to be able to articulate that and then engage with AI, I think that's where a lot of work and effort does need to happen. Much more with students, I think, than with the teacher community is what I would say from our experience as well.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to a very pertinent question, right? And that question may be more relevant for the private schools or the upper end of the affordable private schools today. That with the widespread proliferation of free platforms like Meta AI, ChatGPT, etc., what can really be done to guide the students about when and how to use AI versus sort of, just, we're seeing that there is metacognitive offloading and, almost asking AI for answers, which is a natural sort of response, right? And what role can AI literacy sort of play in the same? Bhanu, do you want to just shed quick light on that before our closing question?
I think, we will have to face this problem for a little bit of time because there's a maturity curve which we all have to go through, right? I think for me, the answer here is, again, helping the teachers deal with this. For example, and I'm just using examples to make it as clear as possible for myself and for all of you, is if I am doing an activity in grade 7 about writing an essay, do I fight with AI as a teacher, or do I figure out how to plug in AI into my whole transaction? And if I can be capacitated as a teacher to create exercises and process of exercise where I actually allow my children that go do your research with AI, bring the AI research into the classroom, and in this period, with that research which is coming from AI, do the higher order work in the classroom without any digital around you, right? And if you have to keep writing, ask them to write. If you're okay with them to type, let them type, whatever that is, right? So creating these pedagogical transactions with AI-infused steps and activities is the way to go there. I think in some schools, experimentations in this side have started, but I think at a whole or ecosystem layer, we are wanting on a real level of work to be done to enable teachers.
And if I can just add, and it was a very interesting example in the previous panel by one of the panelists who talked about all the reservation when calculators first came, right? And you can look at similar skepticism when internet came into our lives, and now we can't imagine our lives and the world without internet. Similarly is what we're seeing with AI, and it's very natural, right? And just to what Bhanu is talking about, right? The idea is not to, if we say what the teacher is doing and what the student is doing are in silos, that will not help the system, right? That will not serve the teacher, the students, the parents, anyone. But if the way the technology is developed, designed, and rolled out, that's actually integrated. So the teacher actually has visibility on what the student is using AI for, and that is okay. And it doesn't make the student lazy, but it actually allows the student to use their time, to hone their critical skills. That would be powerful. Yeah. And that's really what Khanmigo does, because what it does is it does let the teacher know what exactly the student's engagement is on the platform. Yeah. What is the student asking? If there's any inappropriate behavior that gets flagged. So I think those are the things that we do need to think about, and as we look at it versus, and that's the way we all need to come together to make the solutions more robust. Yeah.
No, absolutely, Shubhra. That makes a lot of sense, right? So you're saying that AI should be a cognitive partner for the child, actually nudging them towards different solutions, innovative, critical thinking versus cognitive offloading. So on that note, I would love to ask, when do we see Khanmigo almost becoming ubiquitous in India, right? When do we see that? In the next year?
I mean, fingers crossed. I think we did a fairly, with teachers in UP and in Odisha and many other systems, seeing very strong and good responses from teachers, and did a small pilot with students. I think there's still a lot we want to learn about students using AI and the things that I talked about. How do you make that engagement and interaction more meaningful? How do you make students not just care about the answer but the process? So we are looking to do some of those pilots and actively in discussions with states. So, hopefully some more rollout of Khanmigo and taking it to both students and teachers in the coming year.
Great, amazing. And Bhanu, when do we see Bharat becoming AI literate? In the next couple of years, what is the vision?
I think the students will become AI literate far before what the entire system would become. They're already on the road because they're already interacting with those things. I think I would give another 2-3 years by when the general awareness of AI from a literacy point of view would proliferate in a big way. I think the important aspect here is to also look at how we are able to get the orchestration happen between the pedagogy stakeholders, the institutional setup, which is the government and the way financing and rollouts and all that happen, plus the home, which is the student teacher. The orchestration between all these actors need to be designed. I would say it's an exciting time ahead. There's a lot of figuring out to do. I would be a pragmatic futurist when it comes to AI in education.
Amazing. So in one word, because we're at 20 seconds, so give us your closing punchline on where you see AI in education in 2030. So just 2 words.
I don't know if it's 2 words, but it's almost the vision of a classroom which is far more experiential oriented and based, and it's about teaching somebody but being able to let them learn that based on what interests and excites them.
Amazing, yeah.
So that would be my vision for
Amazing.
AI.
Cool, thank you. That's a great vision. Yeah, Bhanu, just 10 seconds.
I would actually just only say one word, companion. AI as a productive companion for students, AI as a productive companion for teachers, AI as a productive companion for the institutional setup to see the learning data and progressively feed back into the system to deliver outcomes.
Great, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bhanu. Thank you, Shubhra.